And Canada is really well positioned. We're the only G7 country that has a free trade agreement with the other G7 countries. We truly are a global leader when it comes to trade now. I talked about Europe and Asia and North America. We're really well positioned. So if you're a company now and you want to invest in North America, Canada's a great spot to set up shop. Because if you come here, not only do you have access to the United States and Mexico, but you can go to Europe and you can go to Asia.
With respect to international trade, in Ontario, it seems that on the coast, East Coast, West Coast, those businesses seem to be well-versed in doing international trade.
That's right.
Here in Ontario, less than 7% of businesses engage in international trade. And the ones that do engage in international trade,
the US.
It's all in the U.S.
That's right.
So what can we do? And we know, people say, well, listen, the federal government's got to throw money at it. And we know the federal government, your job and the federal government's job is to create an environment that is conducive to international trade. So what is your government working on in order to create that environment where more businesses in Ontario, the hub of economic activity of the country, what are you doing to create that environment so that those businesses will engage in international trade?
So I agree with your assessment. When we say our companies are export-oriented, that's code for the U.S.,
yeah, exactly.
Especially in Ontario. So your assessment is bang on. Particularly when I travel out east and out west, they're much more diverse in their trading. Particularly out west, they're very much connected to Asia because of proximity. Our government's philosophy has been and will continue to be that we want to create conditions for success for businesses to succeed. We're really, as you said, we want to create that environment. And in places where we need to be a partner, we'll be a partner. In places where we need to look at eliminating regulations, we'll eliminate regulations. In places where we can be competitive on taxes, we will be, just like small businesses, the lowest tax rate for small business in the G7. But as I mentioned before, we have all these trade agreements that we just signed. But that's not the success story. The success story is not, we signed a trade agreement. The success story is, do our businesses actually have access and better access to those markets? Our true success is going to be, as you mentioned, our ability to diversify trade and our ability to engage our businesses into those markets. So taking trade missions is a key example in terms of how we engage our small businesses, because they're so busy in the day-to-day setting up their operations and running their business that they don't necessarily have the ability to coordinate, organize a trip, meet with relevant customers or suppliers. So those trade missions have an enormous amount of value. We have more trade officers abroad in these key markets. So not only did we have free trade agreement with these countries, now we're providing additional trade resources. So you have more trade commissioners. So when you go abroad and you have questions, you need to engage, you need introductions, you need to better understand the market, you have more resources. So that's really what we're focused on. You'll see some more announcements in the upcoming budget as well to highlight our ability to export to these markets. Minister Ng, the Minister of Small Businesses now, is focused on trade diversification. Minister Carr, formerly was known as the Minister of International Trade, now is the Minister of Trade Diversification. And the idea is not only to celebrate the free trade agreements that we have, but it's really focusing on Canadian companies that have the potential to be global, that have the potential to export, to engage them into these new markets, and that's what we're focused on.